okay, this is like the third or fourth time I've watched this movie. And every time it's the ending that gets me. I don't mind this movie. I think it's okay. And then we get to the ending, and it's like it goes from okay to okay. Before I Fall is a 2017 film based on a young adult novel. Say in the back of the thing here. Based on a best-selling novel, Before I Fall. It doesn't say by who though on the back of the thing. Slipcover. The stars, Zoe Deutsch, Halston Sage, and Logan Miller with Jennifer Beals as the mother. And it's about this girl named Samantha who goes out on Valentine's Day. This came out in March in America. But Valentine's Day they go out and there's this other student there named Juliet that we find out has a connection to one of the girls, but they harass this girl, and then they're driving home and they hit what they think is a truck, and then she wakes up the next day and it starts all over again. Samantha does. So yeah, it's a time loop movie. I've seen, obviously we're going to compare this to Groundhog Day and how people, they say, oh, Groundhog Day was much better because Bill Murray was funny. And this is not supposed to be funny. This is a serious film. There's some comedic aspects. This is a drama film. All right? Is what it is. You have your time travel, you have your time loop comedies like Groundhog Day. You have your time loop horror movies like Happy Death Day, which also has some comedy in it, but this is played very seriously. It tackles issues that teenagers would have, like that teenage, like the two-faced people in your life that will be fine with you one day, 1 minute, turn on someone else the next minute, and expect you to follow them because you're their friends. You have to do what they say. It's that sort of thing, and you've done that. You've followed them. I unfortunately have been one of those people. One of those kids growing up in school, not so much high school, because I kind of started to push my own path in high school, but like in middle school, infamously when I was in 6th grade, there were these two girls, or two other kids, whatever, throwing paper airplanes around and stuff, and going around, and there's this one girl that was trying to get me to stop, and I wouldn't listen to her, and we all got in trouble for it. I kept doing it because they were doing it because they were my, at the time, friends, or so I thought. And so I kept doing it because I thought I wanted to be cool like with them. And that's kind of an example here with Samantha. She's, followed this other girl played by Halston Sage for so long. She's kind of turned into this character. And that's the whole moral. It's a moral tale, really, where she realizes she hasn't been the nicest person in recent years. She's pushed other people away. She realizes that her best friend isn't the person she thought she was, which also leads into a problem I have with the ending, but it really comes full circle, sort of. The ending still pisses me off because it didn't need to happen that way, and I don't know how she jumped to that conclusion. 3 or 4 times watching this, I still don't know how she jumped to the conclusion that it had to happen that way. She even says so in the last loop. I know what I have to do. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have, no. You get to it. So, it goes through some of the basic tropes, although not played for as much comedy. Like, usually in time loops, you have the loop where you're just going to start doing whatever you want. So, we have one loop where she wears all the makeup, she dresses up kind of skanky, she walks around, she acts, says what she wants to do, because that's, the rebellious phase, the way she wants to act in that loop, because she can do what she wants. It's downplayed from what usual time loop movies do, and I kind of like that. And you get the tropes of time loops, to certain things that happen throughout the first loop that connect to the rest of them. And we get some revelations. Juliet likes to paint. In the second and last loop, we find out that Juliet and Halston Sage's character used to be best friends in like the fifth grade or something, until Juliet accidentally peed in a sleeping bag when they were camping, and she pointed out that it was no until it was Halston Sage's character that accidentally peed in the uh, sleeping bag, and she pointed to Juliet, said she did it, and that kind of turned her against her. And for some reason, she's like totally hates her now. For some reason, I don't understand. I feel like Juliet would be the one throwing shade on her, calling her a freak, but like I forget her name, Lindsay. Lindsay has sort of pulled her friends and then making fun of Juliet because she like hates her. She's a freak. But like, if it was all because of a wet sleeping bag, then why? I don't understand the whole why Lindsay has so much hate because she became cool and she's not cool, so she's got to keep acting that way. I think Samantha says like it's an act, you know. But what gets me is after finding this out, she tries to stop Juliet. At first, like I said, she thinks that it's a truck that they hit, but it don't hit the truck. And so, as always, you gotta find out why the like what you need to do to end the loop. And so obviously they supposedly die when it hits, so it restarts. So it's not like Happy Death Day where you have to stop yourself from dying because that throws it into the ending. But yeah, it's just a loop that keeps, for some reason, we don't most like time loop things, we don't really know why it's happening per se, like what is causing it. Unlike Happy Death Day where they do eventually in the second one, but like there's a reason why, but it's not like we don't know what's causing it. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? So after the second to last time loop, this is the one where she goes around, she starts making, she behaves a little bit better than she did the previous one. She talks to this Logan Miller's character, Ben, I think is his name in this, or is that his name in? Is that his name in? Escape Room. I'm just gonna call him Ben. He talks to him, and basically he's always had a crush on her, and he's like one of the only people who didn't turn on her really, like who doesn't have a thing against her, even though she behaved mean because she hung out with Lindsay. So they kiss, 'cause she has a boyfriend, but the boyfriend's like the jackass boyfriend who, like, when she has her little naughty loop where she's doing whatever, she does have sex with the boyfriend, so she doesn't have to be around when the Juliet thing happens. And like the whole thing was that she was complaining because he wrote "love ya," LUV ya, and I love you, and so they're having sex. And he goes, "I love you. Is that what you wanted?" And it's like, oh, this guy's a jerk, He only wanted one thing and he got it, right? And like in one of the loops, they say that she has her period, so that he has like a sad puppy dog face, But like, yeah, in this loop, she doesn't hook up with Ben. I'm gonna keep going. I don't know what it is, but she does kiss him, and then she runs out to stop Juliet after maybe she figured it out. I don't know. But like then you see she jumps in front of the car. I don't think she did figure it out. I think she's trying to talk to Juliet to apologize to her, but Juliet's too far gone by this point. And I lost my train of thought. Too far gone at this point. She runs right out. She gets hit, and then we see like eventually that it goes back again. And that's when she's like, I know what I have to do. And so this is the one where, you You could tell what's happening from a mile away. She goes through this entire day as if it's going to be her last, and you know what's going to happen. I'm sitting there in the theater. I went to see this in the theater, by the way, because like I said in the Big Ten announcement video, that the trailer, the TV spot trailers for this, it looked like it was a action time loop. Not action, but like a thriller type film. You know what I mean? And this is more of a chick flick, but it's not a bad one. I don't think it's that bad. The ending does soil it for me. It does bring it down, and we'll get to it. But so you can see this from a mile away. What's going to happen? Because she hugs her sister. She hugs her mom and dad, and she's talking to her friends. She's being all nice with them, and she's telling them like what she loves about all of them. And she gets to Lindsay and starts listing off. I'm like, wait a minute. Why are you? This is your last day. This is your chance to tell her off. Like, what? Like, you just learned how bad of a person she is when she pissed in a sleeping bag and blamed the other girl next to her that she did it. You know how bad. You called her out on her shit during a couple loops. And you're like, oh, what I love about you. And I'm just like, nothing. She's a bitch. Fucking, yeah. But, yeah, and everything goes. You know, they get to the party. She breaks up with her boyfriend because she has a thing for Ben. I can call him Ben. I don't know his name. Now, and she says to Ben, I got a secret to tell you tonight at your party. So they go into his room at the party, and she's like, your kiss was the best kiss I've ever had, or whatever. And he's like, what kiss? Apart from one in the 5th grade or whatever, or 3rd grade, whatever. Because there's a whole thing where he has a crush on her. He gives her a rose, and she gives him a rose this time and says, "You're my hero," because she stepped in. There's a story that was told in the loop before where he was getting picked on and being called a crybaby. This was after his dad died. So this guy was a jackass for calling him that. But like, calling him a crybaby. And she comes up and the guy knocks his tray out. So she scoops up the mashed potatoes and shoves it in this guy's face, picking on him. And he says, "You're my hero." So she sent that to him, I guess. I don't know. And so like she tells him she loves him, which is really weird, and she runs out to stop Juliet because they started the argument. And this is the ending. So she runs out, she's talking to Juliet. Juliet still runs out, and I hate this when I see this in movies. When they're trying to stop someone from getting hit by a vehicle, they run up and push. No, never do that. Grab and pull. You never go, because you're gonna get hit. You go and pull them back. You never run forward and push them out of the way, because that's gonna. I understand maybe at this point in the moment you're not thinking, and at this point she like I said, she says, "I know what I have to do." So she feels she has to do this. Well, like I said, that's one alternative. Pulling her back. Some movies and TV shows have pullback thing, but more often than not, they'll do the push them out of the way so they get hit. And here they do it, and it's implied that she dies. It's shown that she dies, I guess, too. But it's like it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen at all. It did not have to happen that way. Could have pulled her, and also, like, this greater universe out there, whatever is telling her she has to be a better person, says you have to be a better person, and you have to kill yourself saving this girl. I don't think that's the message that it was trying to send, and yet it's implied that the loop stops because she's dead, which is like the opposite of Happy Death Day. But also, it makes no sense because wouldn't she be dead anyway from the car accident they had? I'm assuming that's why it looped. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. But more importantly, there is a better way for her to go around it. She thinks this has to be how it has to happen. Why? One, she does defend Juliet in the lunchroom, but she should have stood up and yelled at. You need to leave her alone. She is not a bad person. You need to stop being such a bitch. Because, you know, at least she never peed in her sleeping bag. Something like that. And then, if it's still escalated at the party, that's when she should actually step in at the party and defend Juliet and say, you know what? You need to leave her. I don't know what that is. You need to leave her alone. You need to leave her alone. And stop picking on her. And stop blaming her for stuff that is clearly your fault. She'd be like, what do you mean? Well, I know you were the one that pissed in the sleeping bag, not her. And this is the PG-13 movie, but you actually get 2 fucks in this. There's one said by Zoe Deutsch when she's yelling at him, but then there's another one, a background fuck, that I don't think you're supposed to catch, but you do. So there's 2 in this, but I feel like there was another way to do this. It didn't have to end with her dying. It makes this entire journey pointless. Because the whole thing is about her learning a lesson and how about she needed to be a better person. And then she learns that lesson and then dies. So what's the point of her learning that lesson if she's just going to die? That's what I hate about redemption arcs in movies and TV shows, because they always write it where they get the redemption by sacrificing themselves. And that's bullshit. That's not how it should work. They need to be able to live to see their redemption going forward, so they can live that life as a better person. And what do we get? Look at the greatest redemption arcs. Darth Vader, dead. Can't leave any more off the top of my head. Can't think of anything. Batman, well, technically in The Dark Knight Rises, he's still alive, but you know what I mean. More often than not, redemption arcs in movies and TV shows end up with that character dying as the end of the redemption arc. And I've always hated that. I always thought it was stupid. Why do they have to die? They should be able to continue on. Kylo Ren, another one, still Star Wars, but it's another one. He had his redemption arc and he died at the end. Wasn't necessary at all. But they had to do it because that's the trope. And this was another one. She learned her lesson. She's going to become a better person. But then she sacrifices herself to save Juliet, which again, pull her back, not push her forward. I don't know. The ending just ruins this movie for me. I think the acting is great. The music. Let's talk about the music in this, okay? The music, it's very 2017 music. Music nowadays just doesn't impress me. There's a lot of, I like listening to older music. There are some rarities that come out, usually from artists that I follow, like the Backstreet Boys or, Elton John. Some of the older artists that put stuff out. A lot of newer stuff I just can't sit through. It just doesn't sound like music to me. And the music in this, it's very young adult, chick flick music. Except for when they're at the party before the confrontation with Juliet. I swear, this song is just someone going, de penis, de penis, de penis, de penis. I swear, that's all it is. It's somebody just going, de penis, de penis, de penis. I'm like, what is this song? Every time I watch this movie, what is this song? baffles me. Did someone just playing on the piano going, the penis? Was that even a real song? I don't know. That's what it sounds like to me. It's very weird. But overall, this movie's fine until it gets to the end. It always falls apart for me at the end. And I'm going to give it a middle of the road because it's not a terrible movie. It's nothing that I would say, like, you shouldn't watch at all. So I can't say it's not worth your time, but it's still disappointing for me at the end because to me, it's just like, it's like a balloon getting bigger, 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 and then pops before you can tie together and finish what you started. That kind of thing. Like, this movie always just, it pops before the actual ending should happen, you know? Like, also, she didn't have to die. Like, they could have said she got hit and she's hurt and she's in the hospital, but she's fine. And wouldn't it be something if there was a twist in that? She gets hit. She jumps in, sacrifices herself. She gets hit, and she wakes up in a hospital and finds out the whole time loop thing was a dream? I understand this is based on a book, but we wake up and it's like, oh, we had a car accident last night. Car accident. Yeah. And she realizes that was a dream. It was her conscience telling her she has to be a better person. And now she's going to be a better person. And like none of the stuff, it was all in her head. It was all a coma dream or something. And she's been in coma for a couple months. That sort of thing. That would have been better. Because, like I said, it would have been very predictable. Once she starts saying, I know what I have to do. She's going around hugging people and saying goodbye. You're sitting there in the theater going, she's going to kill herself. She's going to die. And then when it hits, there's a white light. And she wakes up in the hospital from the initial accident. That she ended up in a coma or something, or unconscious, and it's just the next day. She's hurt, she's bruised, and the time loop thing was all in her head, part of her conscience, kind of telling you she's got to be a better person. So, I don't know. It would have been better that way, I think. I think my ending is better. You know what I mean? Or you just pull her out of the way instead of pushing. I'm sorry. That bugs the hell out of me. I hate that. But yeah, it's the middle of the road. Yeah, so what are your thoughts on Before I Fall? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Scotty, and I'll see you in the next one.